Hey guys, it's Mrs. Yeagle. I'm here to read to you the second chapter of The Darkest Hour by Carolyn Tung Richmond. This starts on page 12, so follow along. Chapter 2. My hand curls around my rosary while I race to intercept Trevor. I had planned to greet him at his usual pew inside, but bumping into him out in the open will work in my favor. The fewer people who see me, the better. Major Harkin would certainly approve of that. Trevor's brown suit hugs his portly frame, while his thinning hair resembles an abandoned bird's nest atop his shiny scalp. I've gotten well acquainted with Trevor's balding head. For over a month now, I've been tailing him, watching him meet with his Nazi liaison in the perfumed shadows of the Tuileries garden, and seeing him smile at the leather shoes that his bribe money has afforded. I even know what he eats for breakfast. A hot cup of beef broth, thanks to the citywide coffee rations. I've learned quite a lot about Monsieur Trevor, perhaps more than even his own mother. Right before he reaches the church doors, I stumble into him and say, "I'm so sorry, monsieur." He jerks his elbow away, but then catches sight of my face. "Sister Marchand?" I nod. He has no clue of my true identity. To hide in plain sight, the girls of covert ops will dress as students or secretaries or humble sisters of the cloth, and our targets rarely give us a second glance. Little do they know that we're the blades they never see coming. For instance, Trevor and Sister Marchand have enjoyed pleasantries for weeks, ever since we discovered that he attends Mass 3 times a week. Major Harkin never thought that a traitor like Trevor would be so pious, but even he can be wrong at times. With our sights set, Harkin had sent in Sabine first, as usual. She had cozied up to Trevor at his favorite brassiere, La Clossier de Lilas, dressed to the nines in her Clarinda alias, red lips, blonde wig, and a black dress that made use of every one of her curves. But even with her Veronica Lake good looks, Trevor had spent his entire meal admiring the restaurant's lilac garden instead of Sabine's carefully displayed cleavage. Afterwards, Sabine had scoffed and told Harkin that Trevor must have been nearsighted or preferred the company of other men, but I'd seen the annoyance behind her rouge. It was the first time I'd seen the unflappable Sabine look so very flapped, and I'd hidden my grin at that. Maybe that's petty of me, but I couldn't help it. Not when she tosses me a snooty glance whenever she gets the chance. Tilly had tried her hand next, opting for her Laverne alias, a chatty bookseller who's far too friendly for her own good. On a warm day in May, she followed Trevor into a stuffy metro car and plopped herself into the seat next to him. She'd chit-chatted about the Nazi-sponsored rowing regatta on the Seine and how fun it would be. Then she leaned into Trevor and whispered, "They're not so bad, the Germans, I mean. Wouldn't you agree?" But he didn't look up from his newspaper. With our options running low, it was my idea to give Sister Marchand a try, but Major Harkin wouldn't hear of it. Every time I brought up the idea, he'd shoo me out of his tiny office to return to his folder stamped Classified Zerfall. But Tilly helped me convince him in the end. We figured that Trevor might open up to a nun, and just as we hoped, he has played right into our hands. Trevor takes me by the elbow. "Are you hurt, sister?" "I don't believe so," I say, but I flash him a stricken look when I straighten. "Oh, my ankle!" "Is it broken?" No, but..." I wince. "I must have rolled it." "You poor thing." He looks at me with such pity that I know I've played him like a Glenn Miller record so far. I wish that Harkin were here to see me, but he'd likely huff that my job isn't even half done. So I focus on what comes next. Set the trap. I throw Trevor a sheepish smile. "Forgive me for asking, but might you walk me to the courtyard? There's a bench where I can rest for a bit." Trevor hesitates. I don't think he would refuse a nun, or have I misjudged him? My worries soon vanish when he offers me his arm. "Lead the way, sister." I lean on him while I hobble upon my poor bruised ankle. We're standing so close that I can smell the sweat staining his jacket, and I think how easy it would be to slip my dagger into his side and up into his heart, but I need to question him first. My knife will have to be patient. Trevor helps me to the bench, and before he can turn away, I pull out a box of cigarettes from my pocket. Dangle the bait. The box's edges have creased after jostling in my habit, but Trevor stares at it like he's a treasured church relic, which isn't surprising with the war rations in full force. "A small token for your troubles?" I ask. "Why, thank you," he says, snatching the cigarette from my hand. I mask my smile. The cigarette I gave him has been lined with sodium pentothal, a special concoction sent to us by the OSS's Research and Development Branch to relax its victims and coax the truth out of them. Please don't tell Father Benoit I have these. I tucked down my chin, faking embarrassment. The Nazis have outlawed smoking for women. I suppose they don't see it as very ladylike, but many French women have skirted around the law. I offer Trevor a match, and he can't seem to light the cigarette fast enough before he takes a long draw. I hope your mama is well, I ask, waiting for the chemicals to seep into his bloodstream. We've missed her at Mass these last few weeks. Her health hasn't been the best, but I'll pass along your condolences. Trevor takes a seat, and I'm pleased to find his eyelids wilting like thirsty flowers. That's the calming effect of the chemicals at play. How has your work been going at Je suis partout? Will I be reading more of your articles soon? Perhaps next week. My old witch of an editor has been giving me trouble about deadlines. The sodium pentothal must be working its way into his veins. Usually, Trevor tells me only pleasant things about his job at Je suis partout, a newspaper that shouldn't even be called that since its pages are full of German propaganda. As he drones on, I nod and pretend to be fascinated, all the while unscrewing the rosary to release the needle-thin dagger hidden inside of it. I decide to take my questioning in another direction. Tell me, monsieur, I say, how are things going at your other job? My other job? You know what I mean. I drop my sugar-sweet tone and grip the knife handle, ready to block his exit if he runs. How have you been passing Allied secrets to the Nazis? How did you... That isn't true. I've done no such thing. He drops the cigarette and fumbles to his feet, but I'm faster. Grabbing him by the collar, I thrust a knee into his belly and keep him from crying out before I force him to the cold stones of the courtyard. Don't lie to me, Trevor. We've been watching you. Our noses are inches apart as I thrust the blade at the underside of his chin. We? I don't elaborate. I should ask him about his Nazi handlers, but with him quaking like a frightened altar boy, I want to scare him a little more. I want him to feel a sliver of the fear that those airmen felt when they discovered that Trevor had duped them. 2 men died at your hands, I spit at him. We trusted you with their lives, but you turned them over to the Germans. I had no choice. Mama needed her medicine, and I needed new shoes. A fat cut of beef at La Bouffe sur le Toit, I say. His face drains of color when he realizes that I have been watching him. The entire city might be starving, but why should you care? You're sitting at the best table in the house, drinking your burgundy wine and ordering more sauce for your steak. You're mistaken. I never set foot in that place. I press the knife closer, shaving off the tips of his stubble, and that's all it takes to break him open like a summer melon. Are you calling me a liar? I didn't know, he heaves. Truly, I didn't know that the Nazis would kill them. Please, Sister Marchand, or whoever you are. Somehow I doubt that, monsieur. Tell me the names of your Nazi liaisons. What are their ranks? They never told me any such thing. You must believe me. I thrust my elbow into his gut because he's squealing too loudly. Thick tears course down his pathetic face, and he's begging me to think of his mother. Please, oh, please. But I'm not Father Benoit. I can't be soft-hearted like the old priest. The Nazis robbed me of that when they killed Theo. The pain of his passing still chafes at my heart, and I'll never stop regretting that I didn't make things right between us before he died. Trevor and I go back and forth, but his answer remains the same. He doesn't know his liaisons' names or ranks. My mouth forms a grim line because I doubt that he's lying. The chemicals should have drawn the truth out of him by now. With the interrogation finished, I need to be quick about what comes next. A slash across the throat, a simple flick of the handle, and that will be that. The mission complete. Be done with it, Lucy. I pull back my hand, but my fingers tremble, and my palms fill with sweat. I nearly curse aloud. My instructors told me this might happen, that the nerves always come before the first kill, but I was sure I wouldn't have any problems taking out Trevor. He's a traitor, a coward, but the trembling worsens. Merde, what's wrong with me? Trevor gasps out, Zierfall! I have information about Operation Zierfall. I snap back into the moment, blinking hard at him. Zierfall. For weeks, I've seen Harkin's desk buried in files that are stamped with that word. I'll tell you all about it, he continues. It'll change the course of the war. For that, I decide to spare him a moment longer. What do you know exactly? Hope shines on his face. If I tell you, will you let me live? I can't allow that, but I say what he wants to hear. Tell me everything you've heard and I won't cut you like a prized pig. You promise? I push the blade a hair deeper. You're not the one doing the negotiations. For good measure, I slide the knife toward the spot of flesh right under his chin, soft as my mother's clafouti pudding. Talk. It's a classified operation. He talks so quickly that his words knock into each other like bowling pins. I heard the Nazis whispering about it right before one of our meetings. What else? They said the Fuhrer had devised the operation himself. It's led by... Oh, what was the name? Reinhard. Yes, that's it. A man named Reinhard is in charge of it. What exactly does the operation entail? They didn't say, but... His voice registers an octave higher when I drive the blade deeper, breaking the skin. It's supposed to change the course of the war. How? I don't know. He releases a sob. I don't know. His cries shake his whole body, and I doubt I'll get anything more out of him. Finish him now, I can hear Harkin telling me. That's all I know, he wails. You told me you'd spare me if I told you everything I knew. You promised. I promised you nothing, I whisper. I grip the knife tighter, but the trembling returns double-fold, and I stare at my hand. What's wrong with me? I try to shove my nerves away, but just then a truck engine roars down the road. My head jerks up automatically, and that's all the time Trevor needs to push me off. Hilf! He screams in frantic German. Hilf! I scramble to my feet, but my shoe catches on my skirt hem, and my knees crash against the street stones. I swear even louder. Trevor has seen my face. If I don't get to him soon, my skinny neck will be on the line with an arrest to follow soon after. She's going to kill me, Trevor says, mere strides from the street. My fingers are still quivering as I pocket the dagger and reach for my gun. Subtlety won't be in the cards tonight. Murmuring an apology to Major Harkin, I take aim and shoot the well-rod 9mm pistol, but something malfunctions. With my pulse-pounding heart, I slap the magazine and fire again. This time the bullet strikes home. Trevor cries out and staggers across the street. He teeters at the edge of the scene, the river that splits the city in half. Gravity wins out and he tumbles over the stone embankment. I hear a splash and nothing more. Relief hits me first, followed by a queasy shaking in my gut. But before I can think about what I've done, the sound of muffled German shouts infiltrate my ears. Nazis. The patrols must have heard Trevert's cries. I need to run, but first I have to make sure that he's dead. Springing down the road, I peer into the river to find Trevert floating in the black waters, his shirt ballooning around him. His broad chest has gone still, even though it was thick with breath a moment ago. Target number 53 has been eliminated. The shouts close in on me, but I linger where I stand, frozen still. Tilly once told me about this moment. The first kill. I thought I was prepared, but... Move. I need to move. Ignoring the nausea swishing in my stomach, I rush back through the alley just as the church's side door swings open. Whirling around, I aim the pistol one more time and find Father Benoit gaping at me. He stares at the gun barrel and holds up his liver-spotted hands. "What have you done, my child?" he whispers. "Where is Renee?" I keep the barrel pointed at him, even though I don't want to shoot it. "I need your silence, Father. Swear it to me." He hesitates before making the sign of the cross. "I won't tell the Nazis what you've done. You swear on it?" "You have my word." I let the gun drop. "Go back inside." "May God have mercy on your soul, Sister Marchand, or whatever your true name may be." He shuts the door and locks it in place. That's my cue to run. I fly through the maze of empty Parisian streets, the buildings around me blurring into one gray mass. With every step I take, Father Benoit's words ring in my ears. Whatever your true name may be. My skirt whooshes around my ankles, and I think, my name is Lucienne Blaise. I am 16 years old. I am Theodore Blaise's little sister, and I'm certainly not a nun. What I am is the newest agent in covert ops.